Hi, and welcome to our presentation for AEDT 4110 on Miss Educator's teaching. After watching the video, we noted that Miss Educator had many flaws in her teaching plan that would inhibit student learning. We will begin by examining both the CSHE and the AAHE to highlight some of the key problems in her teaching. Examining the CSHE, we noted a few of the key points she missed. Following the CSHE guidelines, she missed numbers 5, 6, and 12. The fifth guideline states that assessment tasks assess the capability to analyze and synthesize new information and concepts rather than simply recall information previously presented. Her teaching misses this guideline as all of her forms of assessment require recall of what was stated during that lecture. Her tests are all true and false, multiple choice, and matching, so they do not require any higher level thinking, just recall of information. Based on this, none of her assessments will accurately display what students have learned. Continuing, the sixth guideline is another guideline that Miss Educator did not follow. As shown, the guideline states that a variety of assessment methods are employed so that the limitations of a particular method are minimized. Miss Educator stated that she was only going to do tests at the end of every lecture as her method of assessment. This is an issue because there is no formative assessment involved. She will never know what information her students actually know and understand based on her assessment method. Only doing tests at the end of lectures limits learning for students as they are expected to just memorize all the information they were provided during the lecture before they write the tests at the end of class. Finally, following the CSHE guideline number 12 states that assessment tasks are weighted to balance the developmental and judgmental roles of assessment. Early, low-stakes, low-weighted assessment is used to provide students with feedback. Miss Educator planned all her tests ahead of time, starting with the small test and increasing to longer tests. Although this may work, she weighted all of her tests at 20% each and is not following this guideline by doing so. She has no low-stakes assignments and no way of assessing students' previous knowledge or learning and growth by assessing this way. Moving on to the AAHE, there were many areas here that she did not follow as well. The guidelines here that she did not follow were C, E, and I. As stated in Guideline C, assessment works best when the program it seeks to improve have a clear, explicitly stated purpose. She did not follow this guideline because there were no learning goals stated, and it appeared that her single focus was to teach rather than to have her students learn. She plans on throwing a lot of information at her students and to use her one form of assessment to show that they have learned. Her assessments will not work best because they don't have a true purpose aside from showing how much students can memorize. Moving on to Guideline E, it states that assessment works best when it is ongoing and not episodic. Although her tests are weekly, there is no review of learning or forms of pre-assessment. The assessments will not show what has truly been learned and will not show growth. Every test is based on what is stated during one lecture, and none of the information needs to be retained for further classes, which is discouraging students to actually learn the material. Finally, she did not follow letter I, which states that through assessment, educators meet responsibilities to the students and the public. In her mind, as long as she provided the students with the necessary material, she was succeeding as a teacher. This was an issue because her assessments don't show whether or not the students have truly learned anything, and by her teaching style and assessment style, she is not meeting the responsibilities she has to the students. She is taking this as an experience to pass on her knowledge rather than to teach it and for her to grow as an instructor. All of these areas are weak in her course planning, and, as displayed, there are many areas in which her way of only using tests to assess students will cause many issues in her student learning. After considering all of these factors, we searched through resources such as Bloom's taxonomy, videos from this class, as well as used our own ideas to come up with some solutions that can improve her assessment for students. The solutions we came up with are as followed: a combination of both formative and summative assessments. For example, we thought having a pre-test, weekly check-ins, and a few multiple choice tests not for marks, as well as creating a cheat sheet for the final exam would help Miss Educator figure out the level of understanding and would be effective formative assessments. As for summative assessments, we thought that weekly journals to compare and contrast lectures, as well as either a group or individual project or presentation, and a midterm and final exam would be effective methods of assessment. These assignments would begin with the journals being of low grade value and progress into higher weighted assessments such as the project and exam. Each journal would individually be of low grade value. However, the summative scoring of the journals would be greater than the exam as we feel it is a better assessment of student learning. When it came to testing methods, we believe that her forms of testing need to be altered to require a higher level of thinking rather than simply recall of information. Altering her tests, we would keep the multiple choice, true and false, and matching, but would add in some short answer and create your own definition questions. Overall, with these solutions in place, we believe that her course will be significantly improved. We think this because all the levels of the new Bloom's taxonomy are addressed, and through this we hope the students will take a lot more away from the course. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns? Thanks for watching!